The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv, and we got a lot to talk about. So let's get Admiral COVID in here to dispatch with the COVID numbers.
Yeah, I was very upset. The state, once again, they're having a lot of problems lately publishing these numbers on time. So the flush went out with Saturday's numbers, but I have the numbers from yesterday. Total number of cases is 659,533. New cases is 287. Total deaths is 17,643. New deaths is 5. Bristol County has 66,461 cases. So the numbers are obviously lower.
Yeah, it seems that there's been now all they're doing is pushing the vaccines and they're not really worried about the numbers anymore because the numbers are moving in a positive direction. So, hey, it is what it is. But I guess we'll start off with the second episode of Fall River and the Satanic Cult Murders was aired last night. So if you missed it, it's going to probably be replayed often. Or if you got it, I DVR'd it, I'll watch it later. But and now we have the mayor has called a meeting in the Corky Row area to meet the residents. It was all over the local TV stations, and I believe probably the radio. They call a meeting and to talk to the residents of Corky Row about what happened, and they have arrested a suspect. Of course, rumors abound. Somebody said that this individual is not the shooter. I heard that rumor too. So we don't know. But I know that
I've heard the same thing.
believe CJ, he was charged with possession of a firearm, and they had a dangerousness hearing to try to keep him incarcerated. But obviously the investigation goes on. But the meeting, I guess the city council had a meeting that was scheduled at the same time. And they made that meeting prior to the mayor, and the mayor kind of just stepped in and got his own meeting, and he's got a whole bunch of politicians and department heads coming to the meeting. So it will be interesting to see what goes on at that meeting because,
I'll tell you now, I can't support the actions of the mayor. I cannot support the actions of the mayor. It was like a child who didn't get his way. Okay? He was a stubborn little child who didn't get his way. The city council had already called a meeting at that location and at that time, the public safety committee meeting. They even offered the mayor the opportunity to have a joint meeting with them, and he refused. He wanted to do it himself, and he wanted to be in the limelight, and that was the way it is. And if you don't like it, too bad. And that was the attitude he had, and that is the attitude that has been exposed again. He's bringing his department heads. That way they can talk about trash in the neighborhood and everything else in the neighborhood besides the shooting. There's going to be more talked about besides just the shooting and besides the neighborhood safety. And if it is just the neighborhood safety, I would have to applaud him for it because I don't think he'll do it. I think he's inviting his department heads. Why are you going to invite your department heads to a safety meeting? Okay, Corky Row has its problems. I agree. But to thumb your nose at the city council and thumb your nose at their posted meeting, and in order to do what you want, you had somebody circumvent the booking at the Corky Row Club so that you could get it. That is dirty politics. Something that obviously this mayor knows how to do. He's a spoiled brat, and he thumbed his nose at the city council, and he thumbed his nose at the people of the Corky Row. That's what he did.
Well, I tend to kind of agree because I've seen him in action in other areas that I was personally involved in. But this is more about politics. It's a campaign season. He's very nervous about getting reelected. So this is about, like you said, capturing the limelight. Well, he could have had the limelight virtually every day. Could have went down to Corky Row and walked around Corky Row and talked to residents. He could have done a lot of things, but he didn't. He wants to put on a show. He's calling in state representatives. He's calling in politicians. It reminds me of when we have firefighter funerals and police funerals, and the politicians who give you trouble with your contracts and with your manning levels now march at the head of the procession for somebody who gave their life protecting their community. So forgive me if I have a different perspective, because that is a photo op. And again, this is another thing. And let's see, what's really going to concern me and what I'm going to be looking at is what they talk about today. Now, I know, because I had conversations with some city councilors, and I said it last show, that Chris Peckham and I and Michelle Dion were at the opening of the Almax on the Go before the shooting. And we were talking about what we can do, what we did, because I was involved in at-risk youth programs. When I first got out of the service, we had programs like that. So this is the problem. They're going to go there and talk about this shooting. And it always ends up, when you focus on the tree, more police presence, and how they're gonna keep the neighborhood safe. But the problem with that is it's like the air marshals. When I first came out of the military, I considered becoming an air marshal. But then I looked at it and said, all right, I worked for the federal government at Quonset instead, and then I got on a fire department. But the reality is that the air marshals were eliminated, because they got air marshals because there were a few hijackings at that time. But when they went 4 or 5 years without hijackings, they ditched them. Then they brought them back. And now we all know that Maxine Waters ordered herself more air marshals when she went out to incite a riot. But now they're talking about eliminating air marshals again. See, this is the problem. You can't police forever. We can't have extra units, extra police, and a police officer on every corner forever. It doesn't happen. It's financially impossible, and it's impossible to ignore the rest of the city. So we have to look at how we can stop it today, but more importantly, how can we stop this in the future? And the way you stop it in the future is by what we talked about last time, getting programs that you can deal with and have an outreach to these children for the statistics that you read off on a last show. And everybody was like, where'd you get those? That's what and you gave them the link. We've got virtually 100% of our youth at risk of becoming gang members and criminals. So where are the programs? Where are the athletic programs that teach discipline, respect? Where are the other programs that make available academics, little computer programming and stuff like that? Maybe allowing a little tutoring on a volunteer basis. Where are these programs to give these at-risk youths a different path? Make them understand that you can be a success in life, that the only people with money are not pimps and drug pushers. That's what should be talked about tonight. Not only today, and obviously protecting that neighborhood right now is paramount. But let's keep that in focus. Let's see. But no, what are we going to do? We're going to let every politician stand up and say how terrible this is? We all know that. Is this going to turn into a political circus? Or are they really going to address the program? I truly feel that the council was going there with the right agenda. They were going to talk about this issue, but I know that they were talking about long-term programs to help our at-risk youth. and let's see what happens, because let's see if this turns into be a political dog and pony show, or are they going to talk about not only how we're going to handle the problem today, but how we're going to handle it in the future.
Well, and the sad part about it is that the local media, like the Herald News, like WSAR, sometimes I even think our own FRC media, don't get into the nitty gritty, don't get into the meat and potatoes of these issues, because it's not politically expedient for them. And I can understand for some of them, but why not ask the serious, hard questions? Why giving all the softball questions? Why make the politician look wonderful? The politician isn't wonderful. The politician is just a man or just a woman. They make mistakes like everyone else. They don't have all the answers, but ask the serious questions. What is your plan? Give me some details. This is what happened under your watch. What do you plan to do to stop this? And don't say you're going to put more police officers and more watches around the neighborhood, because that's not going to stop the problem. Because guess what? Right after that shooting, there was a shooting in the South End on Hunter Street. So how are you going to stop the problem? What, you're going to focus on the Corky Row and the hell with the South End? You do that with the movies, Mr. Mayor. You focus on the North End and you say the hell with the South End. Now you're focusing on Corky Row and the hell with the South End. Why? Just because somebody wasn't murdered? No, but somebody was shot. Any way you look at it, that's the way it should be handled. You're not handling it accordingly. You're taking the easy man way out. Say a lot of political bull and make it all stick. As long as you keep throwing it against the wall, something's got to stick. And that's the way you're doing this. And that's the way you run the city. By committee. You can't lead running by committee. It doesn't work that way. It never works that way. And I will quote a very, very good man. A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. They do not set out to be a leader, but become one by the equality of their actions and the integrity of their intentions. And guess who said that? General Douglas MacArthur. That's who said that.
Yeah. One of our great.
Yeah, that's what a true leader is, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Why don't you suck it up and do it?
Boy, talk about irony. I closed my letter about the fiasco we had in the fire department with the Douglas MacArthur quote. But CJ, this is the problem. What disturbs me is how totally oblivious or myopic or both these political leaders are. Because all I think about is optics. Now, look, the defund the police movement and stuff is ridiculous, and we see the crime stats. But let's look at the thing. What did they come out with? What did they say in that? They said they wanted to send social workers to some of these calls. And obviously, I don't agree with that, because, so social workers are going to get murdered, because we see how they escalate. But once these things are taken and put under control, there is a place for counselors and social workers. And that's basically a de facto admission that we have to look forward, not at just the problem, but what causes the problem. And what causes the problem to last forever is that we do not offer these at-risk youth another direction. We do not give them the positive kind of reinforcement that they get from all the movies we talked about, whether it was, Coach Carter, who started a basketball program or a violin program or whatever, chess program or anything, or athletic programs. But the thing is, and also tutoring and mentoring, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. These programs have been around for decades. I mean, I worked in one when I got out of the military, which was 2 centuries ago. So the fact is that this is what cures the problem. There are gang members in these gangs in Fall River that are in their late 30s and 40s. Becoming a gang member has become an occupation, a career. It's not, teenage gangs and then you grow up and you go off and to become a productive citizen. These gangs now are used, they're the primary drug dealers. Gangs throughout the United States, Mexico, the cartel brings in the drugs, they turn them over to the gangs, and the gangs push them on the street, and they have gang wars over turfs to sell those drugs. So all these kids in these neighborhoods see is this going on all the time with no other option. When school lets out, they're on the streets. See, we're not talking about the rich kids here. Rich kids get hooked on drugs. But rich kids sometimes clean up and go to college. These kids are out on the street, and by the time they're 11 or 12, they're being recruited by these gangs because they're juveniles and they won't face adult sentencing if they get caught. That's a reality. So what do you do to these kids? You bring them into a place, give them a place where they can see people who say, look, there's another way to go. And you can be safe and make good money and have a good life, and it's possible. This is what these programs give them, an option. So it's not just about this. This is only a symptom of the problem. The problem is our at-risk youth are not given they do not have enough programs available, and those programs are not really out there for them to get and really introduced to them vigorously to have another option. Their life is almost, it's almost all, the die is already cast. And that's what's wrong. We've got problems and we've got problems in figuring out to police our defense line. They can't be used. This is not a peacekeeping mission in a foreign country where your troops stay there forever. You can't do it. You're right, CJ. We need a 2,000-man police department. And that's an impossibility. And as you said, you can't play move the police around. Oh, there's a shooting down the south end. And move everybody to the south end. Oh, there's a shooting in the Flint. Move everybody to the Flint. It's just not feasible. We have to protect those citizens today, in the immediate future. But if we don't come up and start talking about a realistic plan to stop this from becoming generational, it's never going to go away.
Well, I mean, we see it every time. I mean, every time there's a shooting, every time there's a major car accident, every time there's a major incident, it seems like every police officer on duty gets directed to that site, leaving the rest of the city open. And I think that's one of the problems we have here. Okay. Do they need extra help? Yes, they do. Do they need more people present for those major incidents? Yes, they do. But I don't think that with 10 cars on the road, we need 10 cars at the incident. Okay? We have other departments. We have major crimes. We have, vice and intelligence. We have all of those other things. Bring those people out as well, because we need them. And they do come out. And I know they come out. And they do a great job on trying to find, because obviously they already have an arrest. So they do a great job at finding some of the stuff. But as you said, the rumor is this isn't the shooter. So who's the shooter? Have they even got a lead on who the shooter may be? These are all big questions. And how is the mayor going to stop this? How is the mayor unilaterally going to stop gang violence? How is the mayor unilaterally going to stop gun violence? You and I both know that's not possible. Yet he's acting like it is.
Yeah. Well,
and guess what? You can't.
The other thing
You can't run around like this. oh, look at me. I'm wonderful. I'm Mr. Fabulous because I can do it all. That's not the way it is.
Well, the other thing I'd like to see tonight is, besides obviously addressing the long-term, a long-term solution, which doesn't immediately cure a problem, but that begins to have a dramatic effect fairly quickly. And I saw it as part of the other program that was implemented. But what I also don't see, especially in Fall River, and the police do a great job, but the problem is Fall River seems to be very parochial about not taking any help. And I know that in New Bedford, and I know this is a fact, this is not an assumption, because one of my friends who used to work out at the boys club with me was a state police officer. He's retired now. He retired as the commander of the Dartmouth Barracks. But before he was the commander of the Dartmouth Barracks, he worked on a state police gang unit in New Bedford, working into conjunction with the New Bedford police to deal with the gangs. So, and I know that Sheriff Hodgson, and I know, because, I don't know politics, but Sheriff Hodgson has offered help. So why don't we utilize some of these things? And obviously our police department should be in charge. They would be working in conjunction with. But I know that my friend worked for a very long time in a gang unit that was all state police officers. So, we need more cops, but frankly, you can't afford to have, a police department large enough to have a police officer on every corner, and nobody can. And so we have to figure out, ways to do this. And why not, number one, look into it. Number two, definitely begin to look at the at-risk youth and what we can do to give them an option.
Chip, we've had former mayors, former police chiefs, and former union representatives of the police department who have fought tooth and nail to keep the sheriff out of Fall River, to keep the state police out of Fall River, because they feel it's going to impede their ability to do their job. It's going to affect their contract negotiations, the need for more men, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you know what? There is no shame in asking for help. There's none. And while these people are already there, let's not just utilize them in a crisis like we did with this shooting, where the state police came out to apprehend this gentleman, Holmes, out in Burlington. Let's not just utilize them in, tragic situations. Let's utilize them for some preventive work. They're willing to do it. I don't care about the politics of the sheriff. I don't care about the politics of the state police. I don't care about the politics of the police union. Okay? I care about the politics of Fall River, the people of Fall River, because the people are the politics. And if the people aren't being served, whether it be by our local police, state police, sheriff, whoever it may be, if they're not being served, they're not being served. And they deserve better. Now, when are they going to get better? When they get a new mayor? When they get a mayor who's got a set of cojones on him that is willing to take the bull by the horns? I don't know. We've had a mayor which had everything out for himself. Now we have a mayor who doesn't know what the hell to do, and he does everything by committee. There's something wrong with this picture. There's something major league wrong with this picture. As a matter of fact, this mayor can't even find a way to save $1 on taxes, water, or sewer fees. He can't find a way to save $1. So remember that. We need better.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. And you're 100% right. I remember times when they fought tooth and nail to keep the sheriff out of here. But listen, the police union, if they're fighting against this, they're wrong. because that shouldn't interfere with your bargaining. Actually, it'll allow you to police the city better. If you have assistance on a very narrow scope problem, it's not going to hurt you. You can say that we're allowed to do better policing. And listen, they did it in New Bedford. Why can't we do it here? Did we fight the Second World War alone? No. Who landed at Normandy? British troops, Turkish troops, American troops. We did the bulk of it. But the bottom line is that's why we have NATO. It's better to work together. And, you know, when you have a unit in here that state police unit was strictly on the drug issues, They were treating one of the symptoms of the crime problem. They weren't out there doing what the Fall River police do, which is protect the entire community from all crime. If you bring people in to help you with a problem, to me, that's pretty smart, because now you relieve your police department of that burden, and you can put a few more people out there to protect the rest of the community from crime in general. And if the resources are out there, why not use them? And it's pretty, I hate to say it, I'm kind of parochial too. I always didn't like New Bedford High, and I'm glad to see we whipped them really badly this year for the first time in a long time, because New Bedford normally annihilated Durfee football teams. But the fact is, it bothers me to know that New Bedford was more effective in utilizing help than we are. I think we really have to do that. To me, there's absolutely no argument to the contrary. When 14-year-olds are shot dead on the streets, we've got to exercise every single option to protect this city.
No argument from me, none whatsoever. And you're right. When you look at, and it's not only New Bedford, Brockton's done the same thing. Attleboro has done the same thing. Taunton has done the same thing, but Fall River can't do the same thing. Fall River can't take something that's working in other communities and do it here. What's the problem? What is the problem?
Raising my hand. Politics.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Politics. And more so politicians. It's politicians. Okay? Because the majority of politicians in this city don't know what politics is. Except for Alan Sylvia, who on Fall River has a sign behind him that says Alan Sylvia, state representative, and he has his mug that says state representative. But we need better. I mean, look at what we're known as. Look at what we're known as. We have a shooting where a 14-year-old dies. We have a program that came out called Fall River, which is a 4-part episode. The last 2 episodes are airing next Sunday, which shows Fall River in the worst light possible. And then we have Jungle Land, which I watched this weekend as well. And the mayor of Taunton got credit. The mayor of Attleboro got credit, but the mayor of Fall River didn't get any credit. Monica Souza got credit, but nope, Fall River didn't get any credit. None of the Fall River locations got credit. You could tell where they were, but none of the Fall River locations got credit. This is what happens. We can't even stand up for ourselves there. I don't know who's handling PR for the city, but they're doing a crappy job. They're doing a totally crappy job. Fall River needs a real PR firm because it doesn't have one that works. And it's definitely not coming out of the mayor's office because the mayor's PR secretary is useless as well. So what are you going to do? Well, I don't know.
There's seems like not much more to say.
Nope. And we'll see what happens tonight with the mayor's special meeting at the Corky Row. I don't know if they're going to air that on government TV or not, but if they do, the people should watch it just to see if it is, as we've said, all politics. I want to thank you all for watching. It's always a pleasure to be in your home with you. Please remember, stay safe, stay angry, wear a mask, and hold your politicians accountable. Have a great day.